Welcome to episode number 141 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on May 1, 2016. Tonight's topics include OldNavy backlash, Windows 10 interruption, who cares that Comcast cares, a BO detector, Twitter is now news, Obama's mic drop, and LinkedIn for freelancers and college grads, among many other things. We always kick it off with the worst story of the week, and BL always has the honors to kick it off with the worst story. BL, what was that?
Well, that's going on right as we speak. 2,000 more tweets in the last 15 minutes, and it's a vile response to an OldNavy ad showing a mixed-race happy family. And it's had 16,500 tweets, and basically it just said Happy Sunday, and you know, it's going to cost them the Ku Klux Klan Nazi vote because you know, the Aryan Brotherhood isn't going to like this. Dan Clifford, who retweeted Mr. Media Training, and he said, oh, now they've done it. They've lost the oh-so-desirous Aryan Brotherhood Nazi KKK business. And Cultural Combat said, my family and I will never step into an OldNavy store again. This miscegenation junk is rammed down our throats from every direction, to which several people said, WTF miscegenation. So at one point, OldNavy tried to engage with one of the users who was upset, you know, asking like, what exactly is the problem? And the person said, that's horrible. What's wrong with you? Boycotting OldNavy. Not that I wore that crap before. And OldNavy said, well, we're here. We're happy to help. You know, can you tell us what has you disappointed? And OldNavy says, take a guess. Your clothes are crap, and now you're promoting miscegenation? Disgusting. So several more people tweeted, WTS miscegenation. I still don't know.
They, yeah, these, I've been saying for years with regard to online comments and people complaining about stuff, unreasonable people out themselves. They demonstrate in public that they're unreasonable. It kind of shocks me the extent to which some people do that, but there it is. It happens. So,
mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really vile. So what else?
So I've got a different Twitter trend. This happened yesterday. This is from a Mashable article by Maria Abdul Kaf, I believe is how you pronounce her name. But yesterday was the annual Comcast Cares Day, when thousands of their employees across the country go out and volunteer in their communities. It's a community, but the community service event was hijacked, of course, on Twitter, and the hashtag Comcast Cares Day started trending. Some of the examples of the reason it was trending include a tweet that said, I will be celebrating hashtag Comcast Cares Day sometime between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. with an asterisk, and then a line later, the asterisk resumes, subject to change without notice, additional fees may apply. Another tweet said, maybe at Comcast should extend Comcast Cares Day to, so they actually take care of the other 365 days of the year. Another one said, Comcast Cares Day, thanks for buying out so much competition that consumers don't have to make choices or get better service. And then lastly, so the month of April begins with April Fool's Day and ends with Comcast Cares Day. Seems appropriate. All right, so I get it. Comcast Cares has horrible customer service. They've earned that reputation for horrible customer service. I recently myself had a horrible customer experience with them. Still, it's their day of community service. You're going to hijack that on that community service day on Twitter. Take a day off with the outrage.
Well, Dave, you know, if it was anybody else, I'd say, yeah, you're right. But it's Comcast, and they have so richly earned that reputation. I mean, they're among the most hated companies in America. So what did they think was going to happen? I mean,
their employees are out doing good in the community, volunteering their time. Just, you know, give them a day to let them do something good. Then you resume it the next day.
Maybe they shouldn't have called it Comcast Cares. Maybe they should have called it Comcast Does Good Today. I mean, you know, that you got to think about the fact that people hate you, but Speaking of hating people, the Minister of Immigration and Integration in Norway, Sylvie Listhaug, was ridiculed online after she floated in the Mediterranean in a wetsuit to see what it's like to be a refugee. It was an orange survival suit, and she was sort of jumped in the water and then was quickly rescued by the ship's crew that, took her out. And so, of course, she said, you can't put yourself in the same situation as the refugees, but you can see it from that perspective and experience how it is to be in the water that way. Okay. And among the tweets, Karen Anderson from the Socialist Left Party suggested that the minister should open up the window to really know what it's like to be homeless. Others suggested that she close her eyes to experience blindness or sit on a chair for 5 minutes to see what it's like to be paralyzed. What did she think would happen? And then my favorite one was Martin Graham, who said, Madam, you should fire your PR people.
Well, Microsoft had a bit of a PR snafu last week or the week before, recently, let's say. They had a rather prominent Windows 10 upgrade notice. This is from a Next Web article by Ben Woods. KCCI TV weather reporter Matinka Slater had her weather report interrupted by a Windows 10 upgrade prompt. The little one that comes up, yeah, you should upgrade to Windows 10 because it's better than what you've got right now. Upgrade now. She ignored it, of course. Their producer switched to a different feed, but kind of funny that went on during the broadcast of their news, their weathercast.
That is funny, but it's smart of them that they didn't have it set to automatically update, because people have had really bad experiences when that happened with Windows 10. But that is really a hoot. So Wendy's has a really cheesy ad campaign going on there, 444 news channel, and it's all a big stretch. The announcer says that this is going to restore your faith in humanity, and it's about a boy who saved a woman who was being pecked by a pack of ferocious seagulls. And he did an immediate online funding campaign. He raised $4 for a Wendy's $4 meal. Oy. And there are lots of others, and they're equally lame. And it's a multimedia campaign. It's absolutely horrible. Don't look at it.
Yeah. I'm done with the horribleness.
Okay, well, I put this in good news because I think it's fascinating. Twitter has switched the category of its app to news from social media. This is from a TechCrunch story by Sarah Perez. And instead of trying to compete against Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp, Pinterest, and the others in the social networking category where they were in the top 10, but they moved the app to the news category, and now it's #1 in news. And that could potentially impact Twitter's overall rating, giving it, by giving it better visibility in the free apps chart, where Twitter is currently number 28 of all the free apps. So it's an interesting move on their part, and I believe Twitter is a news app much more than a social media medium at this point, because it's where I certainly go for news. It's where news breaks first, and I think that may have a positive impact on attracting new users.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. When people think of social media, the thing they think of is Facebook, and Facebook works the way Facebook works, and Twitter doesn't work that way. So if they attract new users and somebody tries out Twitter and it doesn't work the way I expect it to work, like Facebook, then they're not gonna, the experience isn't what they're expecting. Yeah. If you position it as a news thing, then it's obvious when you start using Facebook that it's for news, because that's what you get through it a lot. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. We'll see how it works, but I wouldn't be surprised if it helps boost their users.
I hope it does.
Yeah. So LinkedIn quietly rolled out a new feature that is pretty amazing, I think, or could be. This is from an Inc. article by John Nemo. LinkedIn's launched a new service called Profinder. It's intended to match freelancers with those looking for talent. So among the services it is launched with that you can search for talent, freelance talent for, is accounting, business coaching and consulting, design, insurance, IT services, legal services, marketing, real estate, software development, writing and editing. So as a freelancer, you can apply. There's a specialized search function for those who are searching for talent. Freelancers who opt in will get requests for which they can create a proposal. And given what LinkedIn knows about all its users' professional lives and its amazing recommendation algorithms, I think it could be very effective. So we'll see how it goes. I applied. I'll just see what happens and see what the rest of the process is. But I think it could be pretty good news for freelancers.
I applied as well after you told me about it, but what I worry about, as with all of the other apps for freelancers, is that it quickly devolves into something like Fiverr, where it becomes the lowest price that anybody will give, and then the prices go down, and I don't really care to be there. So I hope that LinkedIn has some in their algorithm or in their plans or something. It said you would hear from up to 5. Only 5 candidates would be presented to the seekers. So, the job seekers, but we'll see. That's consistently a problem anytime this sort of thing happens. But they also,
I think what LinkedIn has on in their database with the profiles. I mean, you fill out as a freelancer, especially, you're more apt to fill out your profile completely on LinkedIn and have recommendations. So it's the information that will then be vetted by the people who are looking for talent. So you can see, okay, this person looks like they got enough experience for what I want. Fiverr and those ilks, I don't have that built-in base
you don't really know what you're going to get. But there are other apps that are for freelancers, and they all immediately devolve into price competition. So I hope they figured out a way to prevent that. But they also launched an app for a students app for soon-to-be college graduates, to try and match them with careers, and they're asking them questions to help them figure out, what should they be looking for. It's hard for a kid to know. Like, my nephew is graduating, and he's a major in history. He's interested in so many different things. It's sort of hard to know. He would like to ultimately be a curator in a museum, but it's ultimately hard for him to know how to categorize himself and how to find out what jobs are out there. And they aim to help students figure this out. And considering how heavily mortgaged students are when they get out of school, with all the student loan debt that they don't have forever to find a job. So I think this app may help. It's available only in the US right now for iOS and Android, but hopefully will soon be more widespread. Really good move on their part, I think.
Cool. YouTube has a new feature. They've enabled hashtags. So I got an email from YouTube that said, try out our hashtags. So if you put a hashtag in your video title or description, they are now searchable. So go hashtag out your videos on YouTube and see if you can get some more search traffic out of that. That's
an interesting thing. That really is. So great new app. Nivea has a campaign that they've invented an app that can detect body odor, and it's from an article in Creativity by Alexandra Jardine. And basically, it's something that goes over your phone, and it has sensors. And apparently, men have a harder time detecting their own body odor than women do for some reason, but they often can't smell their own body odor, and I can attest to the fact that that's true. And so you attach this thing to your phone, and you stick your phone in your armpit, and it tells you how urgent it is for you to put on deodorant.
Gross. I don't even want that. I can imagine taking it on a bus. It's going to go wild.
No, it has to be in the armpit. It can't just be in the air. Okay. You go into other people's armpits. You wouldn't do that in New York.
Yeah, I don't like that. So this is something I like a lot better. Sony has a patent coming to a pupil near you soon. This is from a Digital Trends article by Kelly Hodgkins. So Sony has a patent application for contact lenses with organic electroluminescent display screen That allows you to view videos, images, and other information. It's got an onboard video recorder that lets you record what you see, has autofocus, exposure, and aperture adjustment. You can zoom to optimize the quality of the video. It doesn't record in a continuous stream like a car dash would, but can be controlled by the user with a blink of the eye. So there's piezoelectric sensors that can measure eyelid closure time. So it doesn't, if you just blink like you normally would, it's not going to affect the video. You have to do an extended blink to control it, but Wares can use blinks to delete frames in a video recording and more. It includes a gyro to detect when a user is tilting their head and then can realign the video recording to correct for orientation. The power source uses electromagnetic induction to keep the lens operating. Samsung also has filed a patent for a video recording smart contact lens. But very cool. It's something I've always wanted to have. I talked back in the day when we had VHS cassette tapes. I would tell people I'd love to have a slot in my head that I can put in a VHS cassette tape and record my experiences. So maybe it'll happen soon.
That's great. You know, Google has a contact lens that lets diabetics know when they need insulin. I mean, you know, as I wore contact lenses for much of my life, and when you wear contact lenses, your eyeballs sort of desensitize. Like I could stick my finger in my eye to take out if I had an eyelash in it. I mean, you know, the whole thing about being squeamish about your eyes just goes away. So I think like people will have to get over that idea,
Right.
but once you do, which does take a while, because you literally form scar tissue on the inside of your eyelids when you wear contact lenses.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you don't just put them in and go on your merry way. There's a little adjustment period, but once
you get calluses like you do on your fingers when you play guitar.
Guitar, yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty strange. So I watched President Obama's last Nerd Prom speech, and he was just great. He was just, I mean, I miss him already. And he said, when he's talking about why Trump didn't show up, he said, what is he, at home eating a Trump steak, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel? And he made a dig at Hillary Clinton and her Goldman Sachs speeches. He said, if this material goes well, I'll use it at Goldman Sachs next year. Earn me some serious Tubmans. And then he made a real point of, you know, ribbing the other presidential candidates. So Bernie Sanders, who's 74, who was there, he called him the bright new face of the Democratic Party. It was great. And then at the end, he went, I have just one more thing to say. And he holds up the mic and he drops it. He goes, Obama out, drops the mic.
Nice.
It was great.
Presidential mic drop.
Yeah. I mean, it was beautiful. I want to watch the whole thing again. And he pointed out he had pictures that showed how he aged and Michelle didn't. You know how this job like this.
That's right.
So look at me, I'm a shadow of my former self. She looks better, you know, which she does. I mean, and he also had. There was a video with him and Boehmer. I can never say his name. Boehmer, and yeah, and they're sitting there, and Boehmer offers him a cigarette. You got to watch it. We'll put a link in. It's hilarious.
Well, speaking of entertaining, BL, do you watch the HBO show Silicon Valley?
I unfortunately don't have HBO.
Okay, so HBO has this satire called Silicon Valley. It's about, it's satire about Silicon Valley and startup culture. Season 3 began last Sunday. The premise is based around a startup called Pied Piper, which is a video compression startup. And the company has been acquired by venture capitalists, and Richard, its founder, has been fired. He talks to his band of brothers, his fellow coders, that founding employees, and expects them to join him in quitting and suing the venture capitalists. And they don't want to because, like, it's payday. Now we're going over and getting paid after all our sacrifice. So there's a scene in which the two programmers are venting about the founder, Richard, and they begin by having to say nice things about him before they vent, right? So they preface all their complaints with Richard is a great guy and he's a brilliant coder, but and then they rant, and then they stop in the middle of it and they say, well, wait, this is a really inefficient conversation. We need an acronym. We need something that refers to all the great stuff we have to say before we talk about the bad stuff. So Richard is great, but you know, and they come up with Rigby. Richard is great, but you know. So they preface everything by saying, Rigby, can you believe he wants us to not go on and get paid after we sacrifice so much for his company, put aside our projects, and he expects us? What a dick, Rigby. So they hold on this conversation. What's brilliant about it is it's exactly the way programmers, coders would hold a conversation. Inefficient conversation, because we have to say all this long string of things that is nice before we get to what we really want to say. So let's create a variable, i.e. a acronym for all those things, and just refer to the acronym before we get on to the long string of niceties, before we get on to the eventing. So it's a brilliant scene in a brilliant show, and we'll have a link to the video from the scene in the show notes. But
I love that.
Yeah, everybody's into technology has got to watch that show.
Well, that's how people in the South, you know, they before they say something really hideous about someone, they say, bless her heart. Rigby, bless her heart. You know, she's the worst person I ever met in my life. Bless her heart.
Bless her heart.
That's how everything is like that. So on a much nicer scale, the source of this was the Today Show this morning, and they were talking about the Crayon Initiative, and a man named Brian Ware had an idea after watching how restaurants, you know how they have you draw on the table with crayons. Well, apparently, because those crayons have been on the table in a restaurant, they're no longer sanitary to hand out to people, so they throw them away. And he thought that he might be able to turn those crayons into an opportunity. So in his own kitchen, he collects more than 500 pounds of used crayons a week, and he melts them down in his kitchen in these big pots. And he's and then they form them into, you know, they reshape them into crayons. He has a whole team of volunteers who help him. They rebox them and they deliver them to hospitals. And he said there are like 1,200 to 1,400 crayons per hour thrown away by schools and restaurants. And so they collect them and they bring them to kids in hospitals because, you know, hospitals don't provide those things for sick kids, or at least not in the quantity that he's providing them. And what a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, or they charge $500 a box if they
right, to rent the crayons. Yeah, they would do that. Isn't that true? So, okay, that brings us to apps.
Yeah, I'm done with my good stuff. Let's go on to the shiny new stuff.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I played around this tool last week. Very cool. Sandance. It's a Microsoft data visualization tool that they're offering. It's a free web-based tool that lets you upload a data set from your computer or import a third-party data set from the web and analyze it with very sophisticated visualization tools. They have, by default, a set of data that you can play with, like data from the Titanic. So you can examine all the passengers of the Titanic and visualize who was in first class, who was in second class, who was in third class. You can visualize the ages of the passengers of the Titanic. So it's fun to play with just simply with their default data sets that they include. But as I said, you can upload your own. So you can either upload a CSV file from your desktop, or you can use web-based data sets via an API URL. Ways that I was using it is analyzing Twitter data. So with your Twitter account, you can download a CSV file of your Twitter analytics. It includes a bunch of stuff that Twitter doesn't visualize for you in their web-based interface. So you can analyze your Twitter activity. Facebook ad data you can use. Social sharing data, so BuzzSumo you can use and download data sets from there. Website analytics, keyword research, media planning, market research, anything that you've got a data set for, you can use this for. If you need data and you want to play around with it, data.gov is a treasure trove of data that you can use, but really cool visualization tool.
Dave, what'd you find out from your Twitter feed?
I just find you can more easily find out which tweets got the most follows, which tweets got the most retweets and responses and stuff than you can. So I have like a year's worth of Twitter data that
Wow.
you can't easily use with figure out information from just through their web-based visualization.
That's and is it free?
Yeah, it's free.
Oh, and yeah, the data.gov thing is really a treasure trove, and you can get lost in there. And I often do that, and the Google Scholar, which has all the academic papers. You know, I mean, there's just such fascinating information in there, and the way it's categorized is so easy to use. And yeah, I go in there for client information all the time.
Right.
So you have another one. I'm done.
Okay, so yeah, Google Analytics has a new feature called User Explorer. This is from a Marketing Land article by Matt McGee. The new feature lets you track individual visitors' user behavior. It's in beta. It's within the audience section. The data is anonymized, so you don't know exactly, you don't have a name attached to the data. It's just but it's one visitor that you can follow. So you can track number of sessions for a particular visitor, average session duration, bounce rate, revenue, transaction, your e-commerce transactions, goal conversions, acquisition date, acquisition channel, view session paths, so you can watch their path throughout the whole session and see what pages they visited, and those interactions are time stamped. You can also apply segments to it, so you can just see the social traffic, you can just see search traffic, referral traffic, advertising traffic, returning visitors. So it's a pretty cool new addition to Google Analytics. It gives you a lot more insight into how individual users use your website, and it makes me think, I wonder if Google is getting into the marketing automation market, because this is the type of information, the type of analytics you'd want to use and then apply some marketing triggers to, say, send an email to a user based on people who follow this particular path.
Is this the enterprise version of analytics?
Nope, this is the free version.
Really? Because didn't they start charging for the more detailed analytics about a year ago?
They did, but this is the free version.
So we'll see how long it lasts.
Or they'll tie it to another service that they've yet to roll out, which may be marketing automation.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. So I think that brings us to projects.
It does.
Yeah.
And you've got one.
Yeah, I do. I had an article in AdAge this week, and I saw that, you know, I wrote it back in January, I think. I looked at Ted Cruz's website, and at that time it led to a page, apparently forgot to buy his name, so it led to a page that said support President Obama's immigration policies. And even now, apparently, he still hasn't bought it, because now TedCruz.com leads to a picture of Hillary smiling, and it says, Hillary Clinton, the next president of the United States. So I started looking around at the other presidential candidates, and sure enough, John Kasich did not buy his name, but some other guy did, and he bought Kasich.com, and now he's trying to sell it for $125,000, but of course he bet on the wrong horse, because nobody's going to want it. But he made the good point that, you know, the most presidents and famous people often use just one name. So he bet on that, and he had all these reasons why you should pay for it, but of course now nobody's going to. But there's a, you know, so I looked around, and Screw Donald Trump is available, Screw Hillary Clinton is available. I mean, the basic thing that anybody who's advising anybody on the internet is, you know, buy your name, buy the variations, buy the curses, buy, you know, there was a Screw Ford and Ford sucks, and because they didn't buy those things. So now most companies know enough to do that, but presidential candidates, they still don't. So
yeah, that's kind of a fundamental thing. I always called it preemptive marketing.
it is. It has
.com
to
yourself
be.
before somebody does.
But not to buy your own name, not to buy tedcruz.com. So he has tedcruz.org, which generally leads to a charitable organization. So who's organically going to look up tedcruz.org? And I happen to own, just because it was $5.99 and that was a joke, tedcruz.mobi. So I own his mobile site. Just for a laugh.
Well, that brings us to the daily numbers. Daily numbers this week. Why people share content online. This is from Adobe data. Consumers' top motivations for sharing content online. Top amongst them, to make people laugh. 37% said they shared content to make people laugh. So humorous content, we know, does well. Everybody likes to laugh. That's not surprising. To raise awareness on a particular issue, so advocacy behavior, 29% cited that. To show friends content I think they will enjoy, 27% said that. To share my knowledge on a particular subject, 21% are using it for expert positioning purposes. To connect with people who feel similarly to me, connect with the communities of interest, 20%. To share my life moments with friends, 19%. To get likes, just straight up, I want likes, 17%. To share relevant professional insights, again, expert positioning, 17%. To get advice or comments, so 13% of people are asking for advice. To help people understand me better, 12%, blah, blah, blah. So to give advice, 11%. So a lot of different motivations for why people share stuff online, but I always pay attention to this stuff because I'm always looking into how to harness that behavior.
Well, what I would like to see compared is what brands share, because brands tend not to be funny, not to share information that friends would want to share, you know, not to do all of those things. So it would be fun to compare what brands share and what they think they should share, or what their marketing people tell them they should share, I guess. Anyway, that does bring us to the end of episode 141 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And so thank you for watching. And you'll find links to everything we talked about tonight at beyondsocialmediashow.com/141. And we would love you to leave us a review there, beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. Hoping you liked it. You'll find David Erickson online at Twitter. He's at D Erickson. He blogs at estrategyblog.com and creativepr.com/blog. I'm BL Lockman. I blog at on Twitter, I'm at What's Next. I blog at What's Next blog. I run Maximum-Plus for live streamed events and videos. And the show is at beyondsocialmediashow.com. We have all of our episodes and the playlists and linking to everything we covered. On Twitter, we're at BS Media Show, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, beyondsocialmediashow.com/newsletter. We are on Google Music Podcasts now. And Dave, what is the link there, please? I don't have it in my head.
I forgot it.
Okay, we'll put it in the show notes.
Search Beyond Social Media Show on Google Play Music and you'll find us.
Under PR, right?
Yeah, but if you search Beyond Social Media Show, you'll find us.
Okay, well, that's where we are. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher. And so if you didn't have time to watch the show live, you can catch the replay on our blog on YouTube. You'll find it is timestamped so that you can click on a time and jump to a topic. And you can download the podcast, subscribe to them on Google Play Music, on iTunes, and on Stitcher. And we'll be back next week, same time, same station. So we thank you so much for watching tonight.
Thanks for watching.